yeah. Like I was saying, it's one would say either it's a Christmas gift or the worst piece of coal you could possibly get.
No, we're trying to give
friendship?
people to know. Oh, that too. Yeah, we're trying to give people with knowing if they should go see. Imagine if you picked this movie to see on Christmas Day.
There's not much to pick, so it might be this.
Well, hang on a second. First of all, welcome everybody to the Sidekick Show. Obviously we are not live. We are recording this as our Christmas gift to you. Merry Christmas.
Festivus for the rest of us.
There we go. Well, there will be no grievances in the next few minutes. That I assure you. But I'm Rob Gannett, obviously with John Ho and Stu Pei. And yes, we are here talking about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. And this is our Christmas gift to you.
Which they lost this movie.
Is that when we watched it, maybe you won't have to over the holidays. We're going to find out. First of all, John, how's it going, buddy?
Hey, I'm good, sir, Rob. We're recording this on December 3rd. I don't know when we're going to post
December
this.
3rd.
Time of 23rd.
There you go.
Thank you. In front of there, folks.
Yeah. Well, okay, great.
I'm pretty sure we're posting this before, but if you're watching it after, I hope you had a Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays. If you're watching this before, Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever you like to use. And hopefully you'll have
Happy
some
Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Festivus.
Okay, so some of the young cats have never seen Seinfeld, right, Stu?
Yeah.
Like, so when you say Festivus, do they think it's a legit holiday? You think? Are you like, oh yeah, what about Festivus? Like,
the story is it actually did happen to the writer who wrote the story in the episode of Seinfeld. So it actually was a true thing the father did. And it's now become like anything, like a bona fide something. It's kind of like the flying spaghetti monster all of a sudden became a religion. It's like, you just got to believe, and it happens. So,
my wife never grew up with Seinfeld. For some reason, I remember everyone around me was watching it, but she grew up, and she and her family have no idea what the hell's going on. And someone mentions it, I guess, at work or something, and she's like, what the hell is this? And I'm like, I thought everyone knew what this is, but I'm just realizing now that a lot of people might not know. So shout out to Festivus.
It is for the rest of us.
And we have a great show because I have some gripes, and let it begin. I have some problems. I don't know. I think that's how it works. I think that's also the theme of this podcast today, where I believe I've got a lot of problems with you people, and now you're going to hear all about it. So this is what it is, and it ain't over till I get pinned in front of the aluminum pole. So that's what happens.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't guessed, we're going to be doing a review for Aquaman and Lost Kingdom. We're going to start it off spoiler free. So if you haven't seen the movie, we're going to keep it spoiler free, and then we'll give you the heads up when we're going into spoilers. So
does it really matter?
So, I think it matters, Rob. Come on, we got to give this movie its best chance. Some people might. Okay, no spoilers away for it.
All right.
So let's start off with just the hype level going into this movie.
Wait a minute, before we get into that, can we just say, look at this fancy Heroes World sweater? All right.
Yes, Rob is modeling the limited edition Heroes World Hero hoodie, which is a tribute to Andre's official debut in the Marvel Universe in Miss Marvel #1, the New Mutant. Written by Iman Vellani and one of her showrunners from the Miss Marvel TV show. Fantastic book. If you haven't read it, it just wrapped 4 issues and it will be available in trade. But you can order this hoodie a very limited time. I think we've only got a couple more coming in the second wave. Rob got in on the first wave. So if you haven't gotten yours yet, don't worry, it's coming.
Wait, is it going to be like a variant cover for the second printing? Will it be something different?
No, it's just more of the same, and then we're cutting it off after that. So you guys act fast. Go to the website now. You can order it. Or pre-order it, I say. But yeah, thank you, Rob, for showing off your cool sweater. Hope it's nice and warm and comfy.
Actually, I wore this to the movie today.
Yeah.
And so aside from seeing it with my son, this may be the best part of the movie.
So you did not Aquaman out and wear an orange top with green pants?
I'm not going to discuss what type of pants I wore. Right?
Well, it was under the sweater.
Spoiler alert, he was pantsless. So,
like it was raining. Aquaman. I figured... when in Rome.
John, the sign says no shoes, no shirt, no service. Didn't say nothing about pants.
Nope. No.
Yeah, that's the icon that's not on thing. Well, okay, so let me get your hype levels going to this movie. We kind of joked about it.
Okay.
That no one even realized that this was dropping. We thought maybe it came out last week, maybe it's coming out in the new year, and then we're like, oh wait, it is coming out this year. And you guys actually stated you were not going to go see it, and all of a sudden I get a message saying you guys both watched it. So let me go to Rob first. What is your hype level for Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom? You enjoyed the first one, correct?
I did, yeah. I feel like I enjoyed it more at home, but that's fine. Like I did see it in the theater when it came out in 2018, I think it was. And it was around this time, so I had enjoyed it. Going into this one though, I gotta be honest with you, my hype level when it was first,
and Rob is the traditional DC hype man,
right? Was pretty excited.
On the back of the sweater it says DC hype man.
Yes, I was pretty
crossed
excited.
Off now.
Yeah, and that's gone. No, it's coming back with James Gunn. But then as a couple years went on, and you would hear a lot about this project, my hype level started dropping. And then once James Gunn came on and said, hey, we're just blowing the DCEU, we'll finish. Aquaman's the last movie.
I think we'll have to discuss that, the announcement of that.
The hype level then drops down. So to go into this knowing a December 22nd release, I was at a 3.5.
3.5 out of 10. Okay. Stu, much like the first movie, The Rains Down in Africa, did you miss Aquaman, or were you looking forward to The Lost Kingdom?
I think we have to look back at when the original date of this movie was dropped. Do you remember when the original release date of this film was, John?
Oh, was it? Was it pre-pandemic? Was it supposed to be
no?
No, so it was like slated for after. No idea.
Do you know the original date for this movie that came out? The original date was December 16th, 2022. Then it got pushed to March 17th, 2023. And then it got pushed back again to then December 25th, 2023. And then it got moved up to December 20th. So it has had a journey. It's been moved, four times?
I question the push forward. Is there something coming out that they got out of the way of?
They're just like, let's just get it out early. Why not? So I would say every time it's moved, my hype beam has gone down 1 point. So originally I was like, cool, this movie is something. It'll a 7.
Yeah.
And it moved 3 times. So then by the time I saw this movie, it was like a hype level 4. On top of that, knowing the amount and the logic is because remember, we've had so many inclinations of remember, it was going to be Batman that was in this film. And you're like, oh,
Batman.
Not just one. It was originally going to be Michael Keaton. We're like, yo, dope, Michael Keaton. Never mind. Then the picture surfaced with Ben Affleck and Jason Momoa. We're like, oh, Ben Affleck is back. Scratched. So every time this thing has come out, something has changed, something is different. We know how difficult this movie was because there were tons and tons of reworking of the plot line and reshoots. So I went in this going, man, this is going to be one cluster F of a movie because there have been so many people adjusting and tweaking this film. I don't know it's going to be anything. So let's just say, 4 was the level I was at. And like Rob, I was not planning to see this movie. It just happened. It was like, man, there's nothing else to watch. Yeah. I guess we have to do this. Fine.
Yeah.
So begrudgingly, that was it. So
yeah. You had stated before that all the factors going into this movie was coming out, all the issues with it. You said it's impossible for this to actually be good. Do you think this had a more daunting task than say The Flash, which had a lot of problems as well? Nope.
No,
I think The Flash had an even bigger hype train problem because again, we knew Keaton was in it. So already you're like, oh, and he's in the trailer, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be just boom or bust. And they swung, and unfortunately,
foul ball.
It
went to the right side field, but unfortunately hit the foul post.
Not even hit the foul. It went straight up and went straight down. So, and the worst is the pitcher caught it. That was one of those situations. This was a film where, and I'm not spoiling it, a quick thing, it looks wonderful. It's imaginative. It looks really nice. The issue was always going to be, could they fix that incoherent or coherent plot because of all these changes? So I think that was the difference between the two films. Aquaman, visually speaking, if you go watch this movie and whether it's in the theater or on HBO Max when it comes out, it could be a wonderful Christmas time movie in the background where you just mute it and you're like, wow, this looks beautiful. Wow, this is great. Like one of those movies where it's like, the fish tanks that move around or whatever in the holidays. Like this could be a really cool thing to see in the background if it's muted without subtitles and you have no idea what's going on. So yeah, that's not spoiler, but I feel like that's where my train of thought is going.
Yeah. So we're I think most of us, and I'd probably put myself in maybe a 5 or a little bit less, like very mid or to less than mid hype about this movie. And I feel like one of the contributing factors is James Gunn basically saying that this is the end. This is the end capper. There will be nothing else after this. Rob, what do you feel about that? Should he have just not said anything, you think? And maybe these
let's go into like the brief thing, because I feel like that part is more of a spoiler situation, because I think we all have thoughts about the way this film ended and then the way they put the last scene of this movie and the last cutscene to put the bow on and the hat on the whole DCEU. So let's just hold that, because it was really, really like.
Okay, so we'll put a pin in that, and that maybe is better discussed after we get into it.
Is that, let's just say things got real for those 2 last scenes of the ending of this, but we gotta roll on because we don't want to ruin it for the people. But yeah.
Okay, so we'll dive straight into our spoiler-free recommendation, or what would you call it, unrecommendation? If you should go see this movie, let's let Rob take it. Yeah, in theater, it's only available in theaters right now. I guess you could watch it bootleg on some.
Oh no, you wait to see it.
Site. Yeah. So
wait,
Rob, what are your thoughts? This is Christmas time. Should people go run out and see this Christmas Day? What are your thoughts? Should people go see this movie? Spoiler-free review from you.
Okay, listen, I've tried to. I said this before. I don't like crapping on projects. That, listen, a lot of people, like thousands of people, worked on this movie, right? And so I don't want to.
I don't know about thousands.
Well, no, if you include all the VFX artists and everything else like that, like I think you're close to 1,000 or so. But I don't like crapping on people's hard work, right? I guess hard is questionable, but whatever. Here's the thing. Do I think people should, if you have young children, if you have kids who are between the ages of 6 and 14, 5 and 4, yeah, sure, take them, because I think that this movie is made for them.
I think you forget how old a 6-year-old is. You're not taking a 6-year-old to this movie.
No, yes, you totally are. This movie is totally made for them. I think what happened was, like, this is a vastly different Aquaman from the first movie, to the point where it's like, I don't understand. Was it the same people who wrote this? How did this happen? It's like there's barely any.
It is the same people that wrote it.
But it makes no sense.
Yeah,
it makes zero sense to me, right? And so, I think what they did is that this thing has been, and Stu had alluded to it before, this movie has been plagued with reshoots, with very questionable audience testing and screenings, and James Wan and the group have been going back and retooling it. And I think they just said, you know what, let's just make it for kids. This thing is not going to attract the audience that the first one did. So let's kind of gear it towards kids. So I took my 14, almost 15-year-old son. He said, it was okay. I thought some of the action scenes were fun. I enjoyed it. I thought it looked great. I said, okay. It was not for me, man. I wanted to like fall asleep. That's my initial impression. I don't really have a review of what exactly transpired and took place. But I will say this: when you start having, like, I don't know what happened to Atlantis, but all of a sudden it became like Atlantic City. It became Vegas. They had fish police with blue and red sirens on them. They have all this technology, all of this stuff. And I'm thinking, okay, I understand the ocean's a deep, deep place. The world's a big, big place. But the world's also a small place. And you run into people that you're like, oh, I didn't know you knew these people. I find it very hard to believe that you would have like tactical weapons, spaceships, police force, bands, right? Jam bands. Docking stage, everything else under the water, and like nobody would ever, like, it's implausible. Like the whole thing is just ridiculous. They have like this tube, this tunnel that makes like hyperdrive, like a hyperloop, and it shoots them across the oceans, right? Like, this is where I'm like, when you're looking at this, I get it. People saying you're trying to apply logic to a superhero movie, but this there's zero, like it is really geared towards young people to watch this movie.
Rob. How many times I tell you the Earth is covered 71% water, the depths of whom we've never discovered or adventured to. I can imagine all those things exist down there. This is this thing where the water is a deep, deep place. And there have been more people, as we've talked, who have been on Mars and like been in space than there have been at the deepest James Cameron level water, because the pressure will crush you. So like I'm actually fine with all that weird stuff happening in the water. I embrace it. I'm happily all on board. It is kind of a fun thing to see. And when we get to spoilers, like we'll go into more details. But like it is funny to see that world compared to, you know, what we saw in Black Panther 2. Where it's like, oh, Black Panther 2, this is cool, but it's basically like Aztec Incan like pyramids and like no spoiler, like a string of jellyfish lights. I'm like, this is cool. I like this. It's fun. And I'm like, I'm good with this. So, but to your point, carrying on, I agree with you. The tone is so weird. It really isn't a DC comic movie. It's just like a kid's film. But they're like, oh, Aquaman's in it. And Orm's in it too. Like, this is cool. So it is one of those things where I appreciated kind of the whimsicalness, but I feel like this is the same problem that the notes that happened with Chris Hemsworth. You let Momoa go for Momoa, and this is when things get in the problem. It's kind of like if you didn't like Ragnarok was kind of like you kind of took the best parts of Chris Hemsworth and Taika, and you kind of did it masterfully and everyone loved it. And then you went to Love and Thunder, and then it was like, whoa, too much. Like, this is crazy. And it was essentially
you turned too much. You turned that dial a little too far.
And same with like Birds of Prey, like Harley Quinn. Like you let the creatives just go bonkers and not care about the source material. It's so different. It's so weird. So if you're looking for like a true to film Aquaman, this is not even it.
No.
So it is very different and very weird. And that's, I think people are either you're gonna love the Jason Momoa stick. But if you're like, this is a little too far, I'd dial it down from 11, then this movie's going to be rough.
I don't even blame him necessarily, to be honest with you.
No, I blame him. Because as we alluded to at the very end of the film, like, this is just like, it was like an SNL skit. It's like, Robert's going to film you, or like one of those, like, what was it? All those knocked up those films, the Jed
Apatow?
Like, okay, we're gonna do like 10 things, and then Momoa, do your thing, and then whatever he says at the end, they're like, all right, I guess we'll just use that cut. Like, it made no sense why they allowed what happened transpired to happen, because they're like, we'll just do these. You read the lines, now this will be for fun. Because I can't imagine on the script they would say what he said, because it's ludicrous.
Oh, I bet you any money when he was saying some of those lines. And you're like, oh, God, this is just atrocious. Like, listen, this movie is so bad, even Willem Dafoe was like, I'm out.
I don't know, man. Paychecks, man. Dafoe, you know, it's fine. Dafoe's been in some weird stuff.
Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah, I don't think he could have. He definitely couldn't have saved this film. Yeah, I think you guys are hitting it right on the head here. I feel like this, my best way to describe it is maybe it was a little overambitious in what it wanted to accomplish, and it just seemed to try to get to that goal. It just went all over the place, and pulling these kind of like tropes from all these other, like you'll feel like this is like a blender of like a whole bunch of different movies, and they just figured, hey, maybe this will work, maybe that'll work, maybe this will work. So overall experience, yeah, like I really enjoyed the first Aquaman. If I was building a collection, I would not own this copy in there next to it. You would never watch this over and the first Aquaman, now we're probably going to compare it to its peers in the genre and stuff like that later on. This movie, I don't think I could recommend seeing it in the theater if your time is precious. I think on streaming it might be a different story. Like Stu said, there are some beautiful scenes and stuff like that. But there is some indiscrepancy in the way that the film is put together, that you go from beautiful scenes to very budget looking, almost YouTube like scenes, which is just bonkers to see. But you do James Wan, is it James Wan? Yeah, James Wan, right? Director. Yeah, you can see like his effort. Some of the shots, like you're like, wow, and some of the action, you're like, okay, I see what you're trying to do there, but it doesn't quite fully cook. So I don't think I would recommend this for you to see on Christmas Day. I feel like you could come up with any number of better things to do. What was your recommendation?
I truly though do believe you're saying Christmas Day, but I think, listen, the kids are off for the next 2 weeks. If by like day 6 your kids are driving you crazy, they may not want to see a musical like Willy Wonka, but you can park them in their asses in a seat with popcorn and a drink and watch this movie, and they would be very content watching this.
Yeah. What if Die Hard was still in the theaters? Would you go see Die Hard instead?
Of course I would.
Kids go see. Yeah. So
Good question.
Go see Die Hard.
Yeah, but the question is, you're not bringing a 6-year-old to watch Die Hard.
Yeah. Okay. Do we want to rate? Do we go on to rate it out of 10, guys, before we move on to spoilers?
I don't even know.
Yeah, I think everything we have to say has to be spoilers. I don't think we can get around it because there's so much. Honestly, the VIP MVP of this movie, you the real MVP, without spoilers, Patrick Wilson's the best thing in this film. I'm like,
Ocean Master?
Sorry, Ocean Master.
Form
is by far the only thing worth watching. He is the most interesting choices, the most interesting actor. He truly cares, and you're like, oh yeah, Patrick Wilson, you're awesome.
Yeah.
Everyone else in this film is brutal.
Best part of Watchmen. Best part of this.
Yeah, like he is truly the best part of this movie. Like everyone else in this film is like, and like Nicole Kidman, can we have got her like a throat lozenge? Like, why did she have to sound like she'd smoked like 15 Marlboros before she started filming the film? Like she was rough. If you don't like Amber Heard,
give your voice some raspiness. It makes you sound like kind of
no, but you know what? She was in that Lioness show. Remember? You guys watched that Lioness show on Paramount Plus?
Did not know.
Thing. Yeah.
Like here's the thing. Like if you don't like I think we talked before about the Amber Heard stuff. She's not barely in this movie. So if you feel like, oh, I can't support, she's like in it for like 3 scenes, and frankly is awful in every scene she's in. Like you look at
multi CGI.
Yeah, and then also shout outs to Randall Park. He's also one of the bright lights, because without him doing like his like video game cutscenes, like day 33 of the expedition, this movie would make no. At least he's telling us something, because everyone I'm like, oh great, and he basically is acting like us in this movie, going, why are you doing this? This makes no sense.
Clearly reshoots too. When you guys watch it, you'll notice the backgrounds when he's delivering a lot of his stuff. It looks
just like we need more exposition. Like Dolph Lundgren gets a little bit more, great. Timo Morrison is there, fine. He's not terrible. He's better than he is in Book of Boba Fett, and that speaks volumes.
Low bar.
Nicole Kidman and like Amber Heard get like barely any time, and then like as Black Manta, I'm like, dude, you look awesome, but like say, like, you didn't really have meat on the bone. So it was,
but figuratively and in reality, he dropped a shit ton of weight. Like he was really not gaunt, but comparative to what he was in the first movie, he had lost all that muscle mass. So I don't know if that stuff was during reshoots or what for another role he's playing.
I think it was
very, very slim.
I think it was purposeful in my mind, because it was. And we'll spoiler, the time changes as well as the thing affecting him.
Right.
Because like it was like, if that was the like, it feels like that's the artistic choice. Like you start off all swell, and then as that thing is slowly corrupting him, then all of a sudden he gets like thinner and more gangly and whatever, and like more weird. So I'm like, I think that is potential. Like maybe I'm galaxy braining, but it does make a lot more sense than, you know, the thing too. So
I think you're writing extra content for them, Stu. I think you're a little too much. I don't think.
Anyway, bro. Okay, Rob, John, what are you giving this thing out of 10?
All right, Rob, you go first.
Oh shit. Out of 10, I'm gonna begrudgingly have to give it a 5.5. But even then, I feel like it's a bit too high. And the only reason I'm doing it is because I really liked Patrick Wilson in this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving it 5.5. I like Patrick Wilson in this. I did think visually it pops, even though I don't feel like it ought to, but it does. And you're kind of like, look at you're kind of in awe of how much work went into the visualization of the world of Atlantis and everything else. And 3, it's the last of the DCEU. So
last of your Snyder.
He gets a mark just over the line for being the last one.
Yeah, Stu. All right, you higher or lower than Rob here?
I think I'm probably on the same number. I think. Yeah, I think I'm bang on. Like 5.5 is
5.5.
5.5 seems to be the right number. Patrick Wilson helps a lot, but like in the spoiler review, we'll talk about things. There are some questions I have, and it doesn't make sense to me. And I'll ask your perspective because I'm like, why are we doing it this way? And then I had to take away a half point for the ending. I think another half point for the cutscene. Cutscene at the end didn't kill me. The extra credit scene, so that's fine. But it was. I think it would have been a 6, but then the ending took away a half point. So yeah, 5.5 is pretty good.
Lost a point for the mishandled ending. I think I would actually give it a 6. I'm okay with giving it a 6. I kind of do want to give it lower, but I feel like it actually like you can watch.
It stole 2 things, John, from 2 other films and did it worse. That's the half mark you have to take away. It was like it took 2 famous scenes and they're like, yeah, we're gonna do it this way, and you're like, really? 2 scenes and you mashed it together and it just did it that way. No shame. And then there's a couple other points where there was like saying stuff in the film and like Momo was talking. I'm like, there's no shame in this. I gotta take dot points. It's like it was.
It's very possible that my score might go down following the end of this podcast.
Yeah. We'll check back in at the end, folks. So you can skip ahead to the end. So that's our spoiler-free portion. We're gonna get into spoilers. So Stu and Rob gave it a 5.5 out of 10. I'm giving it a 6, which I feel like I'm being a little bit generous. So because I feel like you can watch this. It has like a beginning end. You're probably not going to eject. You'll be able to kind of get through it.
So we're just to clarify, we're all in agreement to not watch this in the theater. Rob, did you say that?
No. I said if you have kids. And I said if you have kids and they're driving you crazy on like day 6 of the holidays, yeah, totally take them. But if you're like sitting at home, maybe San's kids, your kids are older, and you're like, oh, maybe there's something else for me to go. No, there's other things for you to watch. Like,
I 100% said streamer. Yeah, I said
don't even, no. Movies are expensive. No. Yeah. Take them, do something else.
You buy your ticket, you go with someone else, maybe you're paying for their ticket, and then you get some popcorn and drink. I think you 100% have to get some snacks while watching this. If you were just sitting there watching this the whole time,
honestly, if it was like my colleague, I would drink parent juice, which is basically just like champagne or something. Like I would just have to drink a lot of alcohol.
Let's see the VIP with your kids. I don't know. I would say 100% stream this, and you might actually have a better experience overall. So again, spoiler warning, folks. We're going into full spoilers now. We're gonna talk about Aquaman 2. Yeah, Lost Kingdom. Wish they lost this movie. Rob, okay, you want to go full spoiler territory? What do you guys want to do? Each take turns, or you just want to talk about what?
Rob, just unload the clip. What do you got?
All right, go ahead, Rob. Plot.
Okay. Again, so as I said in my earlier preamble, I feel like this was totally made for kids. The tone, like John, you had said that that James Wan was cooking and this and that, but I feel like there's way too many cooks in the kitchen. Like there was way too many notes from the different studio heads. There was a changing of the tide at Warner Brothers, right? Because like it sold from AT&T to Warner Discovery. Like how many people had their input into this colossal stew of shit, right? And it's like. Even the opening sequence where Aquaman is talking, is doing a voiceover. At one time, he's explaining things to his son. So Aquaman's got it. Him and Mara have had gotten married. They had a kid, and he's talking to his son. But the way the voiceover changes, and that he's talking to us, the audience, and it's like, but why? But then you go back to talking to your son. Well, who are you talking to? Like you're all over the like. When that is your opening scene, he's talking about how he was combating some pirates, and the narrative or the point of view changes from him talking to his son to talking to the audience. That's a problem. I'm like, oh, this is not good. We are like 38 seconds in, and already they're not sure how to handle this opening sequence. So you know, you will gather from the trailer that obviously Black Manta is back. One of the great parts of Aquaman, the first movie, was Yaya and Black Manta, and they've infused him with this gnarly old
The Lich King
ghost dude, right? Who has possessed his body, right? This is like, you know, it's like Ghostbusters too.
It's a Game of Thrones cameo for 2 seconds. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I know that guy. Another water guy from Game of Thrones. He's in it? Oh, no, he's out.
And he's out. And essentially now it's not even Black Manta, it's some other dude who's essentially powering him. So it's a whole different character. So you've kind of washed away Black Manta and using this other, you know, he's a puppet, right? You get from the trailers that you've got Orm, Ocean Master, is back. He has to be rescued from a desert. Again, we're back to the desert, guys, because that worked so well in the first movie. We're back to the desert. And then
I actually like the desert scene in this film. I'm not. It was great.
Talking about, but they're talking about how you've got these others, old Atlanteans, who had to adapt to the Sahara Desert when all the water was gone. So now they're like James Wan is known for his horror elements, and he tried his best to put as much of his horror elements in, to the point where I say this: give this guy like a wicked ass zombie movie. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, give him a zombie movie or something, because his style and visual, his eye on like the Walking Dead type stuff would be phenomenal. I would totally watch a horror movie, like a proper zombie movie with this guy, right? But you know, you've got Aquaman once again doing his, you know, travels, but he seems like, I think Stu had said, you know, Jason Momoa went full Jason Momoa. We heard his scream like, I don't know, 24 times throughout the course of the movie. The costume looked really bulky on him. Like, it didn't look as tight.
He barely wore it.
Movie. He was, you know, the way he was speaking, it made no sense. Like, this is not the Aquaman that we saw in the first movie or in BVS or in either of the Justice League movies. Like, it's a completely, even in the cameo from the Peacemaker, it was a better Aquaman than he was in this. And okay, so Mara, you barely see her. I mean, there's a whole, you know, and I don't really give a shit about that. Did she contribute anything to the movie? Plot wise, very little. She saves Aquaman a couple of times, just like the first movie, and that's it. But the acting is atrocious. The scenes are atrocious. The reality is, most of them were sitting on green screens and on green blocks, right? Being told, oh, you're on an iceberg and there's shit around you, and it's like, just act. And you're like, come on, man. Like, everything just looks so fake at times and so atrocious,
except the submarine scenes. It felt like a low-key Bond movie, which I appreciated.
Oh yes,
they were like, oh, the submarine scenes, and like the hangar. I'm like, it's like on a volcano, and I'm like, please just show a guy with a tuxedo swinging through.
Yeah,
that's all I care about, because this is more.
Yeah, I know that was
Bond scene.
I did get that Bond. It's so funny you said that, because when they're on this submarine. And so they're in this giant submarine that has been repurposed for an old school Atlantean armor stuff. And it's like this big, it's like being on the Enterprise, right? I thought of Stu, like, this is like big giant view screen thing, but it's a glass. And then they have 5 people piloting this thing, but it's probably 50 yards. And like, you have a lot of space. You're not in today's cubicles where you're up against, you have a lot of space between your partners. And I was like, oh, this reminds me of old school Bond stuff, like with the levers and the buttons. And I'm like, oh, great. They were using LEDs back in the day. So, yeah, that was, again, some of the visualization was really cool, but they made Atlantis and all of the ocean stuff. It felt like a Star Wars. Remember when they went to that in the second, the Last Jedi or whatever it was?
Casino Planet?
Yeah, I went to the Casino Planet, and you see like all, like, I was like, wow, like they're really Blade Runner. It reminded me of like an underwater Blade Runner. I was like, what is happening here?
Yeah,
like, there's so much going on that makes zero sense. Totally, this is such an outlier from the rest of the DCEU. I don't understand it. Like, it was mind-boggling to me, the direction in which they took. And I don't know, man. I mean, I guess I'll concede my time, Mr. Speaker, to the other people. But honestly, like, it felt like just like a mixed bag, and I have a real tough time understanding why they made certain decisions that they made.
Again, I think if we were to saw the original cut of this film or the original was going to be, I guess, presented or released on the that December date, 2022. Right. This was going to lead into Flashpoint and a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
And Michael Keaton was a show. So again, it's a different thing. It's one of the reasons why I thought it was weird, because you talk about disjointed. The Orca Column, whatever the magical Wakandan thing, yeah. I get it. It's a real thing, a real Atlantean metal or whatever. But like the whole movie, they're like, don't knock it, don't touch it. It's highly combustible. Don't fool around. Nothing ever happens. It doesn't blow up. It doesn't do whatever. It's like you spend all these scenes. Orm's like, don't do this. And Aquaman's like, great, I'll just throw it around. And like I was expecting something. It
blows up at the end when they shoot them rockets at it for no reason.
Yep. Nothing happened. I was like, oh great, maybe there was another scene where something happened. Nope. The underwater scene, visually speaking, this film is wonderful. The creative decisions, you can see James Wan, like, it's beautiful. What hurt them was the storyline was a complete mess. Like I get the culture and because you had the Gimli as the crab man again, and you have all these weird like cool things like Topo or Topo or whatever.
Topo, yeah.
That octopus thing.
Awesome. MVP of the movie.
And awesome. Like, oh yeah, this is cool. Like we saw like that type of octopus is in all these tests are like very smart, and we've seen them predict World Cup victories and like go really small to go through pipes, and like they're very smart to solve puzzles. So I'm like, oh, this is really cool. It was kind of weird how they kind of utilized it. Why did it not have a voice? Why was Martin Short?
It was genetically modified. I'm like, why?
Yeah. Why is Martin Short in this film as a crime boss? And like it was just Martin Short. I'm like, couldn't Martin Short been Topo? Like, I'd rather Martin Short be the voice of the octopus.
Yeah.
If you genetically modify it, to your point, Rob, make him talk. Like, just
apparently he plays music. Didn't sing it. Didn't make a tune once.
So that was that. Like it made no sense that the Patrick Wilson, all the scenes, it was basically like they took everything from Thor Dark World and they're like, we're gonna get these brothers together, and then we're gonna like it's like we have to break them out of prison, and then they're together. It's like, I don't want your help. It's like, I'm with you, little bro, and they're like all the things together. I'm just like,
calling me brother.
Yeah, and the fact that he's like, oh yeah, Loki, and I'm like, you just called him Loki.
He calls him Loki. Yeah,
I was like, oh my god, no shame. What do you guys like? I get it. Loki's like, they have Norse gods in this universe, but I'm just like, okay, but like the earnestness of Patrick Wilson, just like the scene when there's like, you took my kingdom, blah blah blah, and he's like, I didn't want it. He's like, what? And he's like, I didn't want it. I hate all of this. It's like the only reason I did it because you're gonna destroy the Earth world, like the top planet. He's like, oh, it was like that one moment where like, and even the whole thing about like, you never Top World had a burger or like all this stuff, and like, there's a few nuances of conversation that I got and I enjoyed because of if you have a sibling, like that's the type of stuff you talk about. I wish in an alternate reality Patrick Wilson was Aquaman and Jason Momoa was Ocean Master, because that actually fits the two of the people. Like I would rather Jason Momoa be Ocean Master, being nefarious, and the bad guys like twisting that mustache beard. It makes a lot of sense to Patrick Wilson be, because that scene where Patrick Wilson's all like skinny Captain America, and you're like, wow, he looks very like gangly, and they hit the water, he comes out, and you're like,
yeah, he gets the water goes over him, and all of a sudden, like Superman rising up through the sun. He jumps in the water.
Yeah, like
that was probably the best fight of the whole movie. That
was awesome.
First gets re-energized. Like that was the one that I remember.
Bro, dude, you work out? Like that was awesome. I was like, yeah, it was great.
What did you guys think of the Lobo cameo?
Of just Jason Momoa playing himself?
No, of Jason Momoa as Aquaman on a motorcycle doing donuts in front of the lighthouse. And you're like, and he's got his foot, and he's riding a lowrider. He's like doing donuts, and he's like, woo! And I'm like, oh my god, could they make it? Could they forecast this guy as Lobo anymore? Like they putting in a scene of him riding a Harley.
I don't even know if they're going to do that. I'd rather it be Norman Reedus at this standpoint. Anyone else? And let's jump straight to the end because we have to talk about John. We'll jump to like the ending where they're like, we have to release. That let people know of us. They come out and he's like, like the giant ship comes out and all the military people are like, oh my god, this boat's so big. And he comes out like, I'm a father, I'm a brother, I'm a thing, I'm a diplomat, blah blah. And then I am Aquaman. And then there's sort of like, what just happened? You took the scene from Black Panther, where he's like coming to the UN and explaining everything with the Crabman and everything else, and then you end up with I Am Aquaman, and that's the way you end the film. And then the song at the end, what's the song at the end?
It was Steppenwolf. But they made it with like a a trap version of Steppenwolf, Born to Be Wild. And but it was a trap version of it. And I was like, it's horrible, man. It's so bad.
Then I'm like, oh, that's an automatic demerit. Like that's a in the soccer term, that's a yellow card. Like -5 to Gryffindor. Like I gotta take some points away from you from that one. I was like, whoa. And then the end, with Patrick Wilson's like finally, it's like, oh, he's having a burger or whatever, and he sees a cockroach because Momoa's like, oh, they're like the shrimp of the land, and eats it. I was like, oh, this is how you end the DCU. This final scene with Momoa calling him Aquaman, which that's great. We see your face. Of course, we know you're Aquaman. Like it's not like you're wearing a helmet. And two, the cockroach thing. So I just sat there going, yeah. John?
Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint exactly. Well, you know what? The whole movie feels like it was about to be shelved. It was going to go into DC's collection right next to Batgirl, and someone said along the line, oh, no, wait. We can do a couple reshoots. We can fix what's wrong with this. But I don't know. Just like you guys said, the thing is, this thing is all over the place. It steals from all kinds of different movies, different tropes, things like that. So much so that Rob's what the hell moment. My what the hell moment is when they started ending up in Honey, I Shrunk the Aquaman / Quantumania, this island of things that were gigantic for no apparent reason. I don't feel like there was any reason for it. And
it's kind of like Godzilla, the Orca Canum, like it's like make them bigger, just like in Godzilla. You know,
it's like why is this happening? But I don't know. I feel like Jason Momoa, like as much charisma as he has on screen, he can't continue to just show up and do whatever he wants. He has to play these characters. We saw it in Fast and the Furious, where his character is like very inconsistent, and then all of a sudden he just starts going into this comedic budget Joker gag, right? And then this one, as soon as they got rid of his Aquaman costume, he's just wearing his stuff that you see Jason Momoa wear. So I was like, hey man, I don't even got to get dressed to go to set today. I'll just wear my stuff and show up. It's like he's not Aquaman. He doesn't feel like Aquaman. He doesn't act like he doesn't act like a character that's not Jason Momoa. So it's really bizarre. And so much so that at a point, once Patrick Wilson is freed, they basically hand everything off to him. He's delivering all the dialogue, all the exposition, covering like everything, like carrying the entire plot of the movie after he gets kind of like brought into the fold in this buddy comedy. And I was kind of on, like, when he frees him and it's like, oh, we're going to team up and we're going to do this thing. I'm like, okay, I'm on board. This is a buddy thing. But it just didn't work. Like everything was all over the place. Like there's a part where I think Black Manta grabs like a thing that's floating around and flings it somewhere to distract Aquaman. And I'm like, how the hell did he know that was the equivalent of an aquamarine subway that Aquaman would want to have to save? It was just this thing floating in the water. And then the other scene where Aquaman is just like, I figured out how to beat the Sonic cannon. Is we're gonna fight Sonics with Sonics, like some kind of weird thing. And then you're like, okay, is he gonna hire that band that showed up earlier that Rob was talking about, and they're gonna sing into the ship? But no, he gets all the sea creatures to kind of like blast into the thing.
No, not specifically whales.
Yeah.
Whales. There's Sonic that blew up an electronic ship. I have no idea how that worked. How it's like Sonic to Sonic. I'm like, well, whatever.
Yeah, but it's hard. Like I want to continue to like crap on it, but like Stu said, there's some magic in there. There's some of the designs, like those octopus thingies and all these levers and stuff like that, and the ancient technology that they brought up. It's all very cool and, like I said, very ambitious. But yeah, I don't know if I could watch this again. And the inconsistency, it goes from being absolutely incredibly beautiful, the submarine effects, the underwater effects, to almost looking like, no disrespect to Hallmark movies, but Hallmark movies have a very big discrepancy in budget. But all of a sudden you're getting these green screen, especially everything in that, whatever that mine facility was, looked so budget. Like no one was able to. Yeah, no one was able to balance the quality of the video. It looked really weird. It was like almost someone shot it on, I don't know what it was, like a really high quality iPhone, and they spliced it into the movie. Yeah, and I'm like,
8.
What the hell's going on?
To your point, there's weird things that happen, but there are also things that fits so well in this film. Like when the two brothers at the end were talking and Orm gets possessed by I guess whatever the
I don't know
the Lich
generic bad guy, Green Knight, the Green Knight,
the guy from Game of Thrones. What's his name, Rob? The water. You gotta find that. Search. What's his name from Game of Thrones?
Yeah. As Euron Greyjoy.
Euron Greyjoy. Yes, there it is. Greyjoy. There's a scene where, like, here's the thing. They earn the, hey, we're brothers. Like, instead of saying I love you, which is never a thing that they would, it's like, just let go. Like, we made a promise to mom. That logically made sense. I'm like, great. It wouldn't be I love you. It's like, just let go, bro. Like, that's like, oh, this makes sense. At the end, when Patrick Wilson's like, hey, you be a good king because, one, you listen to others. You ask for help. A good king does this. You went to your enemy for help. Like, these are things like the Saturday morning cartoon show that Rob mentioned before about lessons at the end of the episode. It's like, hey, man, ask for help. Like, that's what good leadership is. It's not you know all the answers. Surround yourself around people and ask for help. So I'm like, that's where when Rob was like, oh, it's cartoon. I'm like, this is the end of the show lesson that Patrick Wilson's like, to your point, doing these soliloquies about like, no, man, you're a better king than you think you are, and this is why. And I'm like, wow, this is great because none of us saw this in Jason Momoa at all. We just saw him like running into walls and like making bridges, and I'm like, okay, so making a bridge. Wise king makes bridges. Yeah, it's a metaphor. I was hoping he was gonna say, I get all metaphors like Drax does in the Guardians of the Galaxy, but. Yeah,
so here's the guy. He played as Kordax, which was Atlan's brother.
Yes,
and was the creator of the cursed Black Trident and the undead king of the Lost Kingdom, Necrus, whose evil spirit possesses Black Manta. Like, that's a lot. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a lot, and that's just one character, and you're like, whoa.
We get 3-second scenes. Yeah,
right.
That Patrick Wilson has to explain to someone else. He's like, let me tell you the scene. You're like,
so this is the great thing, though, right? Is because you mentioned, or somebody mentioned exposition. Yeah. So Patrick Wilson is laying on the exposition.
Yep.
Momoa's doing, I don't know, some format. But Randall Park, there was that moment when he's using his tape recorder.
Yeah.
Right? But there's that one moment where he turns around and he starts recording something as the guys are breaking in, the two brothers are breaking into this facility. And it's got to be 35 seconds of exposition, like voiceover, and I'm like, oh my god! Like, could you imagine as the actor? They're like, okay, we need you to come into the booth. You need to read this. And you're like, holy shit! It's like 2 pages of exposition, man. Like, that's a problem. That's a lot. If you need me to read 2 pages as a voiceover to help explain what's happening in this movie, it's a problem.
I'm just surprised they didn't he wasn't like British while doing it. So that was the other thing. Like,
he added an accent.
Okay, here's a question for you. So, like, everybody was questioning whether or not, and this is super spoilers, guys, questioning whether or not Aqua Baby was going to get turfed, right? Because in the comics, Black Manta kills, their baby. And I got to tell you, like, this makes me sound horrible, especially the time of year. I was like, just do it. Do it. Like, because
and then you're the same guy like, bring your kids to this movie. They're gonna murder him.
It didn't happen. So don't worry, you can bring your kids. But I was like, just do it, because apparently they did. Like, and it did not test well. And I think that was part of the thing. I was like, but this is comic accurate. We want to, like, and then they changed it all over. And that's where I think that I have zero. This is purely conjecture on my part. But that's where I think if they were like, they got such bad preview screenings on it and feedback, and they were like, okay, if you're not letting us go that direction, we're going to turn it 180 degrees and go full kid Happy Meal on you.
So no, it would have to be a completely different movie for them to do that. Like,
cognizant of what you mentioned before, John, we got here. Where does this rank in all the DC films?
Yeah. So the joke was, is could this possibly be worse than Wonder Woman 84? I'll straight up say it's definitely not worse than Wonder Woman 84 for me. It's not the bottom of the barrel. I feel like this is watchable despite all its problems. But let's let Rob weigh in. I think he might have a different take.
I don't know. Like, I've only seen Wonder Woman 84.
The bottom is Suicide Squad worse than this? Higher than this? Like, what do you?
Whoa! Shazam! Shazam.
Oh, Shazam's
Fury of
watchable.
Gods. Fury of the Gods.
Oh, I never saw it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
No, see, Fury of the Gods, I think might be better than this.
Or the movie I think which is the worst is Black Adam.
You think I feel like Black Adam might be even more watchable than this.
It's the hubris of The Rock, the entire movie going into it, and that drags the entire thing down. It's like the whole DC universe is about to change. It's like,
okay, but as a movie, I feel like it might be more watchable than this movie.
I feel like it flows better than Black Adam, though.
There's no Patrick Wilson scene in all of Black Adam. There's no actor in that film that is enjoyable to watch.
But it's like 90 minutes, and it's low budget comparative to this.
Sorry?
It's 90 minutes, and it's low budget
like
compared
3
to
minutes in that film. And,
yes, that's true.
And our boy Aldrich Hoggs is in it for like also 3 minutes as Hawkman.
And we're like, they should have put him in longer.
Yeah, look, you're just like, it's even worse to have someone we like not be in the movie. So I'm like, oh, that's even worse. Like, you just had Ray Budo just wasted on this the entire time.
No, I still stand by. This is not the worst for me. I think it still flows. Rob, are you taking the stance that this is the worst?
To be honest with you, I would have to, because it was December of 2020 when we saw one.
It can't be worse than what you, based on, I remember your comments, you absolutely hated Wonder Woman 84. It cannot. Even with Chris Pine in
Wonder Woman, I for sure, like, maybe because I didn't get to see in theater, maybe it would have been different experience in theater, but I 100% wanted to eject. And I got, like, so close to ejecting on that movie if I knew we weren't going to maybe talk about it after. But Stu, okay, what do you think? Since we kind of know Rob, give Rob a couple seconds to reconsider that this is
it's not the worst. It's again, Patrick, like, here's the thing. Like, I think about scenes of movies and I think about parts, and just because the movie, like, for example, we think of Black Adam, there wasn't anything bad, but there also wasn't anything good. It was like such a so-so. Like, there was nothing that was high and nothing that was low. Yes, Aquaman swung for the fences, but any Patrick Wilson scene in that movie was great. And Momoa had a few moments where you're like, okay, this is fun.
the running scene.
And it went bad. It went bad. But
what are you doing with your arms?
Yeah, like, honestly, I chuckled. So I never laughed that hard in all of Black Adam. I was like, what is this slop? Like, it tried to be like a super serious movie, and I'm like, this is the worst.
I'm telling you, man. Kids liked it. Kids like it. Sorry? There you go. Kids like this movie.
Yeah,
how many P jokes did we get?
We got a lot of fun. Yeah.
4 P in the face jokes.
We got a lot of fun jokes, and I'm like, here's like, it was fine. So, like, I look at this like, yeah, some of the movie parts were bad, but still, like, it was still pretty good compared to Black Adam, compared to 84. Like, that whole it was all bad.
Yeah, the first thing on 84 was really bad.
Stu, and then the whole idea that she's like, no, this is for me. I'm gonna take a man. I'm supposed to be a hero, and I'm taking why can't I just have this man's body? Just put the lover of, like, it's like, I'm just gonna just steal a person and embed the soul of another person, and I'm like, oh, this is all bad. You're not supposed to be this way. You're a hero. Heroes don't do this.
No.
No. And yeah, Ocean Master switched over, but there was also that scene when Dolph Lundgren's on the cliff, and then Patrick Wilson's like, "Save me!" Patrick Wilson looks over, kind of smiles, and does a thing, where I'm like, acting, like, oh,
you kind of want him to drop him.
Yeah, like, only what he could do. Like, the scene of the gun was so stupid. It's like the rack of the king giving out a gun to each person. I'm like, how long is this battle going to take?
You want to win or lose?
You have thousands of soldiers, and you're giving them out individually. I'm like, this is stupid.
I think the gun from some other soldier. Poor guy.
Yeah,
that guy's like, what am I going to use?
First off, you can swim and you're Atlantean. You're fine. But like that whole scene, like the him laughing and then him helping out, like, again, it's so much fun that there was nothing close to that in Black Adam where I'm like, oh, I want to see. There's no scene I want to watch in all of Black Adam. But in this scene, even the stupid, like, that scene with the running scene, it will be a TikTok, like, video, and I'll go by and I'll laugh every time I see it with Petrus running. It's like, it's super funny. It's like, what are you doing? It's like,
okay, so Stu, it's not the worst. What are you putting at the bottom then? Is it Wonder Woman or is it Black Adam?
Oh, Wonder Woman, Black Adam for sure are, like, way ahead of this one.
What's at the very bottom then?
Black Adam is the worst.
Black Adam is the very bottom. I think Wonder Woman is the very bottom for me. Rob, have you reconsidered, or you're putting this at the bottom?
No, you guys are no. There are because I gave it a 5.5. I don't think I gave Wonder Woman that high.
You gave it a very low score.
Yeah. So I just based on that, I think.
Like this flows. Like you can at least watch this and get through.
You will rewatch you will never rewatch Wonder Woman 84. You will watch a scene of Aquaman Lost Kingdom again.
No, I don't think I will. I won't watch anything from this. I can't. Well, listen, you never say never, but I highly doubt it.
And then he's like, yo, I saw this on Blu-ray for, $10, and I decided to pick up Aquaman Lost Kingdom so I could slide it into my collection. Okay, let's talk a little bit about, so this movie, the promotion for it is really bizarre. I feel like nobody's out there promoting it. No one's leaking anything, no set photos, no plot reveals, nothing was happening for this movie. So this is probably all because of the whole announcement that James Gunn said the DC Universe is restarting after this. Rob, how do you feel about that? Do you think that was... do you think he still had to do that, or maybe he could have just held his tongue and just said, "We're doing something"?
Okay. So if you actually think about it now, the movies that have come out since he made that announcement, right? You had The Flash, you had Blue Beetle, and you had this
mediocre. Yeah.
And so I'm thinking you almost had to, because how would it have appeared? We all knew he was hired beforehand. They weren't going to just stop, right? And you're casting a new Superman. You're not going to be like, oh, well, we'll see how things go. And then all of a sudden things go horribly wrong. And it's like, oh, now we're rebooting it. I think the narrative would have been, you had to be out front with your cards and say, no, we are going in a different direction. DCEU will no longer exist. It will be the DCU going forward, and it starts with Superman Legacy. Okay, fine. So I think that they had to. But I don't necessarily think, though, that this ties into that announcement. Maybe you can attribute a little bit of it. I think, though, it's a couple of things. One is that I think a lot of people went and watched The Flash in the pre-screenings, like I did. And then and it was the negative reaction that was coming out of it did not match the hype that was going into it. And that movie did make some money, but it bombed pretty badly, right?
Yeah.
So people were just like, okay, why am I going to invest myself in watching another property with this? This whole thing is done. There is 0 point in going to see this movie because it doesn't tie into anything. It's its own little thing, kind of, but it's the end of something. You won't see him in this role going forward. And it just, it feels like you're on your fifth day of eating the same pieces of pizza that you guys had from a party. It's just why am I just?
Yeah, it's almost filler. We saw Batgirl get shelved, right, Stu? So should these last 3 movies have also been shelved or at least thrown to streaming? So that, and I don't know if we're going to include Black Adam in this last kind of batch.
No, because remember,
they have gone to streaming to taper the expectations.
Remember, John, the 3 of us have to remember. The first movie made $1 billion. It made you cannot not do it's same thing. We saw how the mixed reviews of Captain Marvel, the Marvels, again, that movie made $1 billion. Even if it's it won't make $1 billion again, but even if it makes something, you gotta do it. $1 billion. It's crazy. Aquaman won.
So Aquaman definitely had some clout. So maybe they should have focused more on Aquaman and let these other movies. I don't know. I feel like all these movies, like you said, when we were talking about Flash, that's a recipe for disaster. Blue Beetle, it was originally going to be streaming, got brought to theaters. That's a bad sign, right? Right off the bat. Batgirl gets shelved. I don't know where Batgirl fit in this rotation. Black Adam came out somewhere in there as well. Everything is just been downward spiral. So maybe Aquaman should have been pushed to the front of the docket, and maybe it wouldn't have had such a bad.
I think they had no choice.
We're only on opening weekend, so who knows if it's gonna blow up.
The original movie they got screwed because again, Marvel's also facing the situation with Kang as well. You had an actor go do some bad things, and they're like, "Well, that's a wrench. This is what happens when you attach your wagons to an actor, and that actor does something bad." And proven in the court of law. This is the same thing where everyone's, as much as Marvel's look, we use this actor and we don't change them out. This is what you have to, you're hamstrung. You are stuck because of this type of hubris of no, see, we don't recast actors. This is who the person is, unlike the other place. It's yeah, well, there you're screwed because now you're stuck. So same thing. It's like they got stuck because someone and the the DC changeover happened and Walter Hamada, like drama happened there. Yeah. So they had these movies. It was already in the can, and they're like, we gotta salvage it. Let's just throw some money at it, and maybe we can fix it. We'll move the cameos. We'll do this. We'll do that. It just wasn't salvageable. But
it made almost 14 million on Friday. It was projected to do 30 million for 3 days, but now they're looking at about 43 million for the 4-day weekend. Right?
How much did it cost them? 200 probably.
No, I actually had it here. Hang on.
Budget was 205, I think.
The reported budget, right?
Yeah, but not including the retakes and everything else. Like, or maybe that's including retakes and changes.
Yeah, it's hard to say because they won't really. 205 is what's on Wiki, right?
Yeah, so over 200 million.
Probably close to 300 million, to be very honest with you.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so anything salvageable from this movie, Rob? What is the one thing that you actually did like? I think you've kind of stated it a little bit.
I like the fight scenes. I thought Patrick Wilson was great, right? I thought his trident work. And this is the funny thing is that when you're watching him doing his stuff, Black Manta is always wearing his mask. So you're like, I don't even know. It was like watching The Mandalorian. It's like, it's probably not Pedro Pascal, right? So I thought some of the fight scenes, like the actual physical combat scenes were great. Again, visually, something. I can see why my almost 15-year-old son he liked it. He didn't say he loved it. He said, I liked it. Because it was visual, it popped for him, right? It's like it's fluorescent. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it, so I can see the appeal. So like I get it. I'll just quickly say the worst thing though is the line is when Nicole Kidman says to Aquaman, when you're gonna go break out your brother. She's like, tell him I love him. I miss him so much, and I think about him every day. And I'm like, I laughed. I laughed out loud. My son looked at me like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, this might be the worst thing I've ever heard.
Shout out first off to 50-year-old Patrick Wilson, who, like you said before, definitely that was him getting in shape. Like that's a Hugh Jackman. Like I'm working out like a monster to get this physique done. Yeah. And to your point, like all the running stuff, that's Patrick Wilson running, dude. Like that's not a stunt double. So kudos to him doing the Tom Cruise program of like, no. It's me. There's no like some of the other stuff, but it looks like all the stunt work is done by him. So yeah, it's good for him as an older person. We wish the three of us could have the physique and the energy of Patrick Wilson at that point. But man,
for sure he's shining star in this movie. Stu, is there anything else other than him? Maybe the pink seahorse. They made an action figure of that.
I think Tobo Tobo is also the also the fun character. And again, let's think back to the Fish King for a second, or Kingfish. Is it Kingfish? Martin Short. Again, just there to have fun. Yeah. The weird, like, let me just tell you this and whatever, and the weird underground, like. I
feel like that was one of their most interesting interactions, going to that seedy underworld, and he's like, "Oh, I've always been here."
It was Atlantis is kind of turned the Coruscant. Yeah, I was like, "Oh, this is basically Coruscant at the bottom, right? Like this is where the secret band is / nowhere / like the band. The same thing. It's like of Tatooine. It's like, oh, here we go, Jabba's palace. Like here's the band. I was just missing the Lebo and all the other people from the Cantina band playing the Star Wars.
Yeah, he's the ruler of the pirate haven called the Sunken Citadel. Like, okay, sure he is. All right.
I think
he was funny. He was funny.
Yeah. So like, here's like
your hands got blood in them. He goes, impossible. I don't have hands.
Like I said before, Randall Park was great, and I think that to him, I think they missed. They missed the opportunity. They missed was that world-defining like tsunamis or earthquakes or thing like when you say 5 months happened and like. Oh, by the way, the world's getting hotter since strangers and the water's rising. Like they just gloss over the fact that 5 months, like the world is
accelerated the heating of the earth.
Yeah, and like at the end, it's like, Dr. Shin was like, hey, I didn't realize it went so fast. Like, we're melting the planet. And like to Black Manta, like David, I think it was like, we're just doing what humans have done. We just escalated or like fast forward to the process. I'm like, true say. Like, that's not a lie. Like, okay, but I wish there was some...
that stupid volcano. You're trying to tell me nobody in the world would be like, there's a really weird green smoke coming out of this.
Yeah, that was a lot of green smoke.
Honestly, like, I sit there going like, yeah, like, I think they would have said Peacemaker, the Suicide Squad, to check it out. Like, how does that Amanda Waller not know what's going on?
Right,
so like, there was a question about that kind of happened. Like, maybe it was covered and a Superman would see that through actual vision. Like, where, like, I wish there was a scene showing like red lines flying back and forth, like stopping like tsunamis or like tornadoes, or like the red light, like Flash doing stuff. Like, they would, like, you don't have to show them, but like blurs of things like stopping like natural disasters, like, or Aquaman could stop there and like did a whirlpool, or like they just glossed over the fact that the planet was basically in trouble. You could have done like a Noel Emmerich like 2012 like disaster something, and then just said never mind. Like, you could have done that.
You know what I got a lot of vibes off of this one though? Superman and the Quest for Peace.
yeah.
I felt it was very like,
Captain Planet.
Man, guys, you're fucking the planet up, and we, Superman's gonna come and rescue the nukes, and now Aquaman's gonna come rescue the planet because of our, inability to properly do our greenhouse gases. And that whole scene of him, as you said, standing in front of the lectern at Liberty Island, and I was like, this feels like Superman for the Quest for Peace, and that's not in a good way, man.
And one last thing too, it's like, because it's Warner Brothers Discovery, they're not going to say like, oh, British Petroleum, like oil industry, you're the problem. Like, no, they didn't say big oil. Like that was the other thing too. It's like, oh, you Saudis and like, oh, Qatar, like all you people with your oil, like, Apex and like all this. Like, no one mentioned the fact that the fossil fuel empire, like none of that. They're like, let's gloss over the fact that fossil fuels are happening. We have to do our part. It's like, yeah, but the humans, us as private individuals do nothing compared to like big corporations. So they just glossed over because, Discovery, Warner Brothers is a giant corporation. So that was the other thing too. I'm like, they don't want to say you guys are doing it, but they're just saying, yeah, you're doing it. So, yeah.
All right. Can I just say, John, before you go on, Rotten Tomatoes currently has that 36% rotten on critics, but a 78% audience score. That boggles my mind.
Hey, never know. Like you said, maybe people are going, having some fun. But let's wrap it up. This is the end cap to this Snyderverse. Are you finally like say la vie? Rob, are you okay with this ending wrapping up?
I'm good.
You're ready for a fresh slate?
I'm more than happy, and I'm actually very happy that we have I guess now we're looking at a year and a half of no DC properties.
Yeah.
Right? It's July 2025, the Superman Legacy. So
So that's it. Stu, are you glad? Are you think this couldn't have went any better? That this is basically just turned out so poorly that no one is going to be clamoring.
Honestly, I'm surprised they got anything done. Like they've done that this movie's butchered so many different ways. Where I'm like, oh, I'm surprised it's even coherent. The fact that it's basically a fun kids film at the end of the day. Yeah, it's not perfect, but we know how much they've changed, and we talked about it before. Like there were multiple cuts of this film with multiple Batman, and none of them are here.
Yeah. So all the things thrown at it. I think this is not bad. That's why I hesitate to really kind of trash it. So that's why I feel like it does kind of sail past. But anyway, so Aquaman, watch at your own risk. I don't think we're really wholeheartedly recommending it overall. But if you still, after hearing this, want to see it, I think you should definitely give it a go. And
I think your kids are going to enjoy it because kids don't follow plot, and so you don't have to worry.
I think if I watched this on streaming, I would have probably given it a higher rating.
Well, see, there you go. You prove my point.
Yeah.
You're a child. You'd be occupied with other things. That's why. You wouldn't be paying attention.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wish they would have said knowing is half the battle. Like it would just made it just perfect stop at the end.
Lazy. And bad guys had one color, good guys had the other color.
Yeah, and someone's like pork chop sandwiches, and
Well,
they're like, "Oh,
you're
this is."
stealing so much, anyways. You should have been like, with great power comes great responsibility. And the responsibility of having the king of Atlantis rest with you. Like, might as well. You've been stealing everything else. Might as well just throw that in there too.
I just wish he did the Namor like thing at the end, where he's like doing the thing where it's like Namor at the end, where they're doing the thing like. It would have been great.
Namor.
Yes. the best. I guess the future of future of Atlantis is Namor to Rob's dismay. So that's all Rob needs to know. He's sad.
I don't even think. As a side note, I don't even think he'll be back.
Namor?
Not with that. I think that rendition of Namor is out, man.
You think you're going to get rid of Namor as well? That version of the Incan Namor?
Yeah, I do, and I think that actor. I don't think he's got so many problems going on as well.
Ooh.
I don't know.
Right, well,
crazy times. Anyways, thanks folks for tuning in for Aquaman review. Thanks for hanging out with us all year. And we hope you had a fantastic holiday. Thank you, Mr. Rob. Thank you, Mr. Stu, for coming on and watching Aquaman when you guys said you weren't going to do it. I knew I was going to do it, give it a check out. So
don't worry. Our next episode is going to be an extensive deep dive into Namor versus Aquaman, and we're going to
Namor versus Aquaman, whose movie was more questionable.
We're going to do some deep diving of the agriculture, the finances, how money operates, technology.
That's fine. I'll take the Vinny Chase version of Aquaman any day.
Oh man, we should
James Cameron version. Honestly, I would watch a James Cameron Aquaman movie. Let's get it done. Let's put it out there.
Yeah, we did. It was called Avatar: The Way of Water with Jigsaw Lee.
Jigsaw Lee. Yep.
All right, folks. And with that, we'll sign off. We'll see you on the next one. Hopefully you tune in. We have something fun and bonkers in store for you. Okay, the unicorn aside.
And hit the like and subscribe, and make sure you hit the thumbs up and hit the bell.
Whoa! Nice.
I will haunt your life if you hit the thumbs
down. Okay, she's definitely watching too much YouTube. All right, thank you, folks. Thank you, guys. We'll see you on the next one.
See you guys.